You know, trust is both foundational and fragile in a marriage. And when it's broken, that path forward can really feel overwhelming and uncertain. So, in this episode, we are joined by our good friends Tony and Lymari Navarro. They're marriage coaches, speakers, and authors of the book From Ruin to Renewal. And they're going to share their personal story of betrayal and healing and their subsequent restoration. So, with honesty and hope, they are going to unpack what it really takes to rebuild after trust is shattered. So, from navigating the messy middle to embracing the cost of forgiveness, they're going to offer a process that's both spiritually grounded and really practical. So, we're going to explore the honesty, daily habits, healthy boundaries, and even dependence on God that can really help couples rebuild. Not by returning to what used to be or what was, but by creating something brand new. And so this episode is for anyone who's walking through betrayal, supporting someone who is, or maybe you're just desiring a marriage marked by truth, grace, and lasting restoration. So stay tuned. This episode is for you.
Welcome to The Art of Relationships. This podcast is produced by the Biola University Center for Marriage and Relationships. Let's get right into it.
Hey, welcome to another Art of Relationships podcast. Lisa, it's so fun to be able to do this with you on a regular basis. And
yeah, we're coming off a busy weekend.
Yeah.
We did a conference this weekend right here on Biola's campus for people who are seriously dating, engaged, and married.
Yeah, and other conferences upcoming. Check our schedule for that, right?
Yeah, we're going to be everywhere.
Let's start with maybe some listener questions. You know, one that I get all the time is, how do you, Chris and Alisa, stay so hot looking and relevant? And I know you guys are 39, but what do you attribute all of your, and I'm like,
we get that all.
Oh, I know. Just stop writing. It's getting old. Okay, let's go to another listener question. Can you have Tony and Lymari on your podcast?
Yes.
And the answer, the Navarros are definitely going to be our podcast. Alisa, you've already pre-introduced the Navarros. We have had the opportunity to hang out and speak with them in a variety of things.
Yeah, they're on the speaker team with us for Family Life, speaking at the Weekend to Remember. That's where we met them. Yeah. And we've had the honor of speaking with them a couple of times now. So they're in town.
Welcome.
And we got them here.
The Navarros, man. Welcome to our podcast, this humble abode
so
we
much
call
for having us.
The CMR, man. So, hey, thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. It's fun to speak with you guys. I see Tony. I don't know why you guys make me laugh. Mostly because it's fun when we're up there together, huh?
It is.
It's like, I don't know, that half of me that's got a little bit of you guys and,
Bringing the Puerto Rican flavor.
It comes out, man. I got, all of a sudden I got rhythm, I got funny, I got hot.
He's got flair.
He's
got spice.
Oh, I got something, man.
You got to get that Puerto Rican hair.
Yes.
Lymari's got the Puerto Rican hair.
The curls.
So you guys are speaking at an upcoming conference. You guys, I'm sure, like us, love doing it. It's just a fun weekend.
Yeah, it's so great. We're excited. And like I said, we love California, and the people here are just so warm. So it's always great to be here.
Because you guys reside and travel from where to get here?
Right now, Indiana. So it's the big the Midwest, and it's about 6-hour flight, right? If you do it one, and then the time change. So last night we were
Is it 3 or 2 hours?
It's about 3 hours.
That makes a difference, doesn't it? You're going to be sacked out at 6 p.m.
I'm waking up at 3.
Waking up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, like, why isn't anything open? Like, what's going on
I'm
here?
at 4 today, and I feel refreshed.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if LA ever closes, but the places that are open at 3 or 4, I don't think I would go there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you a little bit of California insight, man. Avoid 4 a.m. openings. Hey, tell us about your story and your journey, you guys. Even as we began, tell us a little bit about how you guys, your journey together as a couple.
That's neat.
Yeah, it's so cool to hear your story.
Well, do you want to start? Okay.
Start.
Well, we met in the neighborhood in Chicago, where we were born and raised. Eventually we moved to Bloomington, but that's where we have our roots, Chicago. And so that's where we met. We lived 2 blocks from each other, had similar friends, and then we eventually started dating. And that was fun and turbulent all at the same time.
How old were you?
So we were young. I think it started about 16 years old.
Well, I had a crush on him at 14.
Okay.
And we started dating at 16.
Well, it took you that long to convince him.
Yeah.
Her brother.
Well, my brother stared.
He was one of the guys in the so we call ourselves hood hearts. Obviously, this is all before us, before Jesus, the BC days. And so growing up in the neighborhood was kind of like, I like that girl or she likes that guy. And it was, let's connect. But her brother was a friend of mine and would always say, anybody touch my sister, you're going to kill you. You're dead.
Oh, God.
And so she made the first move. You know, she wasn't scared of her brother. So I just kind of followed along with that.
I was a little rebellious.
So what was your first move, Lymari?
Oh, goodness.
We're sharing stuff here.
We were at a house party.
We used to call them daytimes.
At daytimes.
A daytime party.
At a daytime. And I pinned him in the boiler room and kissed him.
Lymari, I mean, you just don't come across that way. So you have matured and grown.
I have changed.
Yeah, we'll talk about sex and initiating and marriage later, but wow, way to go. I have a new appreciation for you. So then you guys are young. You guys both, I know, turn red. You both grew up Puerto Rican neighborhood, the hood, as you called it, and then God, brought you guys together. And tell us a little bit about how that all kind of transpired.
Yeah. So at the time, we were living together. Lymari already had a son prior to another relationship. And then she was pregnant with my son. Mm-hmm. And so we were living together, kind of playing house, right? And she started to visit a small church in our community. Was invited because they were celebrating Mother's Day, and one of her cousins told her to come out and we're going to do something for your mom. So honoring the mom is big. So that she went, and but then she started to keep going. Wow. She kept going. She brought a Bible to the apartment, and I'm like, okay. And then she's reading the Bible. I caught her sometimes praying, and but there was something in me that was like, okay, I'm glad that's something she's doing, but as long as it doesn't interfere with what I'm doing, it's okay. Like, if that's good for her, then that's fine. So I didn't have any intentions to go to church, to serve the Lord, to follow God. So I was doing my own thing. And so at that time, she was praying for me. The church was praying for me. And she came home and said, listen, we got to stop having sex, because under God's eyes, this is wrong.
And you said, oh yeah, that's great. I believe that.
No, exactly. It was a total opposite. I was like, I don't believe that. Where do you hear that from? That's crazy. And so I thought like we were good. And so she was saying things like, I'm the daughter of the king. I deserve better. All this. She put her foot down. And so I think the next Sunday I was like, okay, let's go to church. I want to go to church and see what this is all about. Although in my head, I was already thinking, I just want to talk to whoever this guy is that's poisoning my girlfriend, right? And telling her all this silly stuff about not having sex before marriage. And so that morning I went with her, and I know she must have said something, because there was kind of like looks going on, and she was like telling me to come sit in the front. I walked into a church. I didn't want anybody to touch me, grab my hand, give me a hug, and I wanted to sit in the back, and she's like, come sit all the way in the front. And so we sit in the front, and I'm reluctantly there. And I think for the first time, I can honestly say I heard the gospel for the first time. And so although it wasn't a surrender that Sunday, I just remember that I was fighting myself. I was angry that I was getting emotional, and I wasn't the emotional kind of guy. And so met the pastor afterward, allowed him to give me this hug. I was kind of awkward. I was just like kind of stiff while he's giving me this hug and, welcoming me. And so I don't know, there wasn't necessarily a change, but I know something changed in me. in that time, and I was more open to, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something I need to like pursue a little more, because whatever is happening with her, there's obviously fruit that I'm seeing in that, right? I'm using that language now, but she was changing. She really was changing, and so it took about 6 more months after that. Stubborn, but I came to
How
a full
old were you
surrender.
guys?
We were 20 years
21.
old, or 21, 21 and full, yeah, about 21 years old. And so when that happened though, after I was like, okay, I'm done trying to do this on my own. Lord, I do need you. And I had that full surrender. It was about 3 months afterward that we got married. And it was because we were living out of conviction, saying, listen, I want to do what's right. And the church married us. And it wasn't a big wedding. It was just an act of obedience. They did the announcements and like, don't forget to come next week. And by the way, Lymari and Tony are getting married. And so they played the music and we're marching down there. She had her dress, I had a suit.
Right in the middle of the service?
Right at the end of the service.
after the
At the end.
service,
And it's a small church that, was starting to, God was moving so tremendously. I mean, there was like so many gangbangers of people that were just getting saved. And so people were just coming. And so afterward, when you hear free food, there's a wedding. It was like they put a potluck together and we celebrated. We put a slow dance tape together. You remember the tape? So somebody says, hey, I'll make the mixtape. Somebody's like, okay, her cousins, I'll make the mixtape.
with the boom
They put a little
box.
with a little and we're just having like little, slow dancing downstairs in the church fellowship hall. But that was our story. And then since then, it's 29 years.
It's amazing. 29 years coming up.
29 years.
Isn't it this weekend? Your
On the
anniversary?
27th of April, we'll celebrate 29 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
And how many kids do you guys have?
5 adult children and 3 grandchildren. Happened. Just recently added a third, and she's amazing. So it's been great.
It's a big transition to go from loving kids to all of a sudden finding pure joy in the grandkids.
It is so
Grandchildren
fun.
are amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started then this journey walking with Christ without much of a background. Where did you guys learn to walk with him? I mean, that had to have been a discipling moment. To come to Christ is one thing, but you must have had somebody, the church around you, that helped you walk and grow.
Well, for me, I would say I had a radical transformation with the Lord. I immediately knew it was everything I had been looking for. I always had this longing and searching in my heart. And so I was very hungry. And so I started asking women to walk with me. And I started meeting with women. I was hungry for the Bible. I would be at church anticipating going home so I can crack open my Bible. And so I just had an insatiable hunger to know Jesus. And so I went through, just started reading. And mind you, I never was a reader in school. I did not enjoy school. And then I became a lifelong learner and constantly just reading, asking people questions and not knowing what discipleship was at the time. And I think our church was a young church, didn't know what they were doing. A lot of people were coming to know Jesus. I just knew there was women that I was watching that had something that I wanted. And so I kind of got underneath, I was like, hey, what are you doing? Can I come hang out with you? And there was a particular family that walked with me and us. And it was the first time I saw a family praying together. I would see my cousins. I had a lot of cousins that were going to the church. I would hear them praying out loud. And I was like, I want that. And so a lot of what I did was I would go home and I just learned how to pray to the Lord. I didn't know how to pray. I just knew I wanted to talk to God. And then women just started teaching me. That was for me how God changed me and discipled me.
I love that story, Lymari. It's very similar to, my coming to Jesus. Same thing, no background. I don't know him. I'm in college. Nobody prayed. If they used God or Jesus's name, it was in a cuss word,
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's left upon me to kind of start looking out or finding somebody. Luckily, the guy I was led to Christ by was a disciple maker, right? And so but I watched his family, and you all of a sudden go, there's something there. I guess what I'm saying too, shout out to all the couples in churches that see and look for that young person, that young couple, and have a heart for them and go, gosh, there are Lymaris and Tonys and Chris's and Alisas all over the church. Go do something, find them and reach out.
And you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
You know, similar, my parents stayed together until I was married, but they didn't have a good marriage.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize that until Chris and I got married. And I realized, oh, wow, he wants to spend time, he wants to watch TV together, not in separate. It really began to dawn on me that what I grew up with was not healthy and wasn't what would be normal in a normal, healthy marriage. And it was another couple or two that worked with our college group that I watched them, exactly what you said, Lymari. I watched them and I thought, that's what I want. Look how he talks to her. Look how she serves and takes care of him, and look how he serves and takes care of her. Look how they do that with their children. That's what I want. And it gave me hope that was out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and before podcasts and everything, there was radio. And I would tune into Moody Bible Institute or Moody Radio, and I would listen to things. Then I would hear them talk about a book, and I'm like, well, I'm going to go get that book. And I'll just start reading it. And so that's kind of how I got, discipled for me personally. Yeah.
And Tony, for you, it was probably following your wife, trying to keep up. But you guys also had a bunch of friends that you had to, and family that you had to go, whoa, we got to find almost a new family for models. You know, we can't use what we had.
That's tough, especially in the Latino culture where family is like everything. And so for me, it was, even when we were invited to have dinner, and we can bring our kids. That was another one, right? We could bring our kids. I was blown away. I would just observe, saying, okay, we're all sitting at the table. Nobody's like grabbing the food right away. They're like waiting. Father's sitting at the front of the table, and everyone's praying and giving thanks to the Lord for their food. And I was just, it was just so awkward. I didn't know what to do. Like, we're grabbing hands and like, what do you say? And that's
Swatting your kids' hands from grabbing.
Yeah, I know, right? It was like, I said, man, I want this. This is like amazing. What do I need to do to have something like this? And so just relooking at not only marriage, but like the whole family, because we were a family already. We were like instant family.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at it at all different angles, like what's next for us. And at the time, like, there were so many layers to the transformative work that God was doing. I was working different types of jobs, but then I was doing a lot of illegal things. I never disclosed to Lymari that I was deeply in drugs when we were together, and after marriage, it was like that the process went away. But the whole thought of that, and then now the men in my life telling me, you have to go be like a real 9-to-5 job. Like, you have to provide for your family. And so doing that was difficult. And so I ended up going back to trade school and working and trying to be involved. And so I felt like I was behind, but I was actually just doing the work needed to get me to a place where I felt like we needed to be. But yeah, so it was holistically, everything was being turned around for us.
Isn't it amazing too, God's work? He pursues us. Grace pursues us. It's not anything, I know it's not anything I did or my actions or behaviors before I met him, and I can tell it wasn't you guys being, it was his work. Yet you had to respond. You had to go, I'm going to do this. And those two come together. God pursues you and you go, okay, I'm going to follow. It's powerful to I imagine your friends and family were like, what has happened to this Tony and Lymari?
Oh yeah, well we began to, see our friends and family really get challenged by the change. And there were a lot of people who were coming to the Lord as a result of what God was doing in our lives. And being able to, and we didn't know how to disciple, but we just started slapping it up and telling people, well, this is what the Bible says. This is what Jesus says. Yeah, I think you should stop doing drugs. Throw that away and come to church with us. And so definitely God was doing something remarkable. And we also got a lot of people in our lives who were upset by the change.
Yes, there's a lot of
And I had friends who I lost. And I remember there were times, even I had a friend at the time who did not show up to our wedding. She didn't want anything to do with me because I was a fanatic now, right? I was a fanatic. And but God showed me the things that I lost, he would replace. And he replaced it with so many people who came around us and loved us so well in that season. So yeah.
Have you ever felt that sometimes in marriage, like everything starts to pull you apart and it's just not a coincidence, right?
Yeah, that, the Bible reminds us that we have a very real enemy who's been trying to divide couples since the Garden of Eden.
At least I think it's why, and one of the things that led us to creating the Going Deeper Together Spiritual Armor Required. It's a 5-lesson course that equips couples to recognize the enemy's tactics and help you stand strong together.
And you'll discover the number one way the enemy gains an advantage and how to counter it with really practical biblical tools.
Man, isn't it true, Lisa? It's your spouse isn't the enemy, it's the enemy that's the enemy.
And if you want to protect and strengthen your marriage, this course is for you. So you'll find all the details in the show notes, so check it out. So it's such a sweet time in life where it sounds like for y'all were reconnecting, y'all were newly married, new believers, your family is growing. And so at what point did the wheels start to come off the bus, so to speak, that you talk about in your book, From Ruin to Renewal?
Yeah, and
what's the story?
And while we have that, here, check it out, man. Tony and Lymari Navarro, From Ruin to Renewal. Man, you can get this. It's published through Family Life, which is where we all speak. And I know I'm probably a big inspiration in your guys' renewal.
Really
I didn't see my name in there, but it's time to clarify that now on the podcast. Go ahead and do it. But anyway, hey, Lisa, good question.
Yeah, just share the story, your story.
Okay.
Yeah,
And how it unfolded.
Yeah, I said even just the picture on the front of the cover just shows like this house that's broken, and then you just see it just growing into this bloom. So from the beginning, we had brought in a lot of just baggage, a lot of ways that we communicated. So although we knew Jesus, both of us are now new believers, we had a lot of stuff that we were bringing into our marriage, that there was a lot of arguments. There was a lot of things happening behind closed doors that God was still doing. And so we would fight, like our fights would go from 0 to 100, screaming matches. There was a lot of disrespect. I am ashamed to say I would put my hands on him because my mom was that way. And so my reaction was anger. And so while God was still doing a work in me, we were having these moments of up and down. So 3 years into our marriage, we're still, we also don't know how to do marriage, guys. Like, we're just like, how do you do this thing? Like, how do you communicate? How do you love this person? What is this thing that we entered into? Like you, I didn't have examples. He didn't have examples. And so raised by a single mom, I brought all of those type of things into our marriage. And so although we loved the Lord, or I did, I was operating still from this part of me that God still was doing a work in. But I love that God is the God of the long game, right? Because he was doing lots of work in me, but it was taking time and in him. And so 3 years into our marriage, we had drifted from each other so far. At this point, we're having babies. Now I'm having our third child. I'm working a part-time job while still trying to raise the kids during the day. He's working full-time. He goes back to school, and we're just not even having relations. We're kind of like tag, you're it, back and forth. And so our marriage had drifted to the point of we didn't know each other anymore. And so 3 years into our marriage, I get a call that Tony had been unfaithful. And then that person hangs up. And that, I like to say, is the wrecking ball of our marriage, where this huge ball just comes crashing in. But it toppled the things we were already building that were already shaky. So it's kind of like you're looking at this beautiful house, but behind the walls, there's decay, there's rot. And so this just brought everything cascading down.
Mari, Lamar, what was that like for you to get that phone call? Were you surprised, or were you, no, I've seen the signs, I'm not surprised, but I'm, still angry and hurt. But what was that like for you?
I would say I was both naive and blinded. I think I was naive because these were things I would say out of my mouth. If Tony was in a room with a naked woman, he would not cheat on me. I just thought he knows better. Like, I would leave him. And those are the type of things I would say to him. If you ever cheat on me, we're done. I'm not going to be that woman that I've seen be mistreated and misused. And so I thought in my mind that he would never do that. Maybe I thought naively that, like, I'm the best thing that ever happened to you. No, just kidding. But also there was another part of me that felt very blindsided because I was raising kids. And so I was so deep into mothering that I didn't see the signs. But when everything came out, it's like the puzzle piece started to come together. Oh, that's where he was. That's why he hasn't been. And so at first I called him because I wanted to hear it out of his mouth. And I said, is this true? And then he admitted to it. And so that's kind of how everything got revealed. But yeah, I was blindsided by it. Yeah.
So take us through the next, weeks and months at that point.
Yeah, that was, let's just say it felt like a week the first day, the first night of it all, when it all came out. And it wasn't all at once. I mean, when I got the phone call, it was like I was at work. She's telling me you have to be home within like 14 minutes, 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay. But the minute she told me that this person called and this is what happened, it was like, I don't know, everything, like life left. It just felt like a shell. Like life left. And it was almost like I couldn't hear anything. I mean, really, it felt like this scene from like a movie or something. And all I know was I got to get home. Told the boss, listen, I'm leaving. And I just left, got home, and we started arguing at the house. I'm slowly telling her things like, I don't feel like I love you anymore, or I don't this, and bringing things up. She grabs one of our kids. She leaves me with the other two at the house, so I can't go nowhere, I guess. But then she
The easiest kid.
So she go to the front and go through some.
But she runs to our pastor's office. Runs to our church, runs to our pastor's office, and I get a call from there. She's like, I'm at the pastor's office. If you want to salvage our marriage, I need you here, like right away.
Yeah.
And so I drop the other two off, get a babysitter, and run to the church. And right there with the pastor, encouraging me, telling me, Tony, get it out, man. Let's just be honest. Don't lie. Now's the time to get it out. And so I said it, like, yeah, I've been having an affair. She's on the floor crying, and I'm believing that I'm already packing my bags before I even pack my bags. Like, because this is what Lymari would say, if you ever do this to me, like, we're done. And so I'm believing I'm the weekend dad. I'm going to be probably living at my mom's or somebody that will take me so I can get back on my feet. I'm preparing my new life without my family. And but everything changes when the pastor asks her, hey, what do you want to do, Mari? Like, what do you want to do? What do you need from me? What do you want to do right now? She goes, well, she tells him, well, can I divorce? Because he went out of bounds in our marriage. Yeah. Doesn't the Bible say that means for divorce? And we believe our pastor had wisdom at that very moment that said, listen, Lymari, that's true. You have the choice to do that. But you also have another choice, and that is you can forgive your husband. You can grace your husband right now. And I don't know what happened in that time before him saying that to what she said afterward. I know there must have been something that was going on with her as well. And I know now because she shares it, like, she was the Holy Spirit, give her the power to say that, but she chose grace. And in that moment, I felt like I already felt so bad about what's happening. Now I feel super bad. I'm crying over there. She's crying. Our pastor's just kind of like being like a dad in the spiritual sense, kind of just waiting to see what the next step is. But I end up going back home. That same night, I get to go back home to the home that I betrayed my wife and my kids, right? Because I'm living this double life here. And I'm just wrecked by God's grace and the mercy that my wife just displayed to me. And now having all types of thoughts and everything else, like what's next? And I mean, she cried through the night. I cried as well. And it just felt like, okay, what's the next step for us after this? Like what do we do? And so we tried our best to just work at it every day. The church helped. We've had like, in a sense, some marital, not coaching, but like counseling with our church leadership and our pastor and some of the elders. And, but at the same time, just asking people to help us out here and there. But it was still rough. I felt like it was we were having these really bad fights, and didn't feel like we were getting any traction. And
How long was it rough like that for you?
I want to say like 3 months. I want to say it was like that. Well, up until the moment what happened with the Lego.
Yeah, well,
That's when
I would
things
say
started to
I would say this though. I'll just go back a little. It's important who you run to in a crisis.
Great advice.
So the fact that again, God was leading us, and like when I look back, like I couldn't have done this
Not on
my
your
own.
own
It
power.
was
Out of my own.
God guiding everything. The fact that I knew to go to our pastor, like that was my initial reaction is I need to go to someone who's going to lead me and counsel me in the right direction. So who are your counselors? Who are the people you're running to?
Just a
when you're
mercy and grace
Yes.
that God gave
That He
you
led me
and
there.
led you.
Because who else would you have gone to?
But I would have
Yeah.
been.
What if she went to your mom?
Yeah.
Oh, and they would have been
different. You wouldn't be sitting here.
Exactly. My mom would have said, "Okay, honey, pack your bags, get home. You're leaving him." Like, so the fact that I knew to go to them, and then remember I said that I was so hungry for the Word of God that I started reading it and consuming it. And sometimes I didn't know what I was reading. I just was reading it. And so what you're depositing in you will come out of you
right time.
in crisis. And so although I wanted to choke him, when the pastor said you can choose grace, and it was like that word, which first of all, when I first heard it going to a church, I had no idea what grace was. I thought it was something you do before you eat your food. I thought it was maybe somebody's name. I didn't know any of that. It is, right? So, but when I realized what grace was, is that it's a forgiveness and a grace that we don't deserve, that Christ extends to us. It was as if God took me back to my moment of salvation when I knew I didn't deserve any of it. And it's the thing that came out of me. So the Holy Spirit becomes the impetus of our reactions and our actions when we are following Him. And so although I was really young, my first reaction, my flesh was like, hey, doesn't the Bible say there's divorce? So I knew how to archive that one, right? But when He used the word grace, it was as if the Holy Spirit just responded like, I choose grace. And so what you're putting in you will come out.
Do you feel like, because that's such a spiritual, deep, possibly Holy Spirit led encounter?
Yes.
Do you guys ever feel like the enemy then would start attacking that at some point, like doubts, or wait, what did I do, or I should have went with that? And it's almost like flesh to want to kind of, I don't know if that ever happens to you.
Well, you're wrestling because you're making a decision. And I like to say that forgiveness is an act, it's a supernatural act, but it's also an act of faith.
Daily.
You do it before you feel it, right? And so I responded to say I forgive him, but when the rubber hits the road, when everything starts coming out of all the things that he had been doing behind the scenes, when I start to see this man had a whole double life I didn't know about, when all that was being revealed, then grace and forgiveness was being tried. Like I wanted to take back what I said. And yet, Holy Spirit was doing a work in me where I was one moment saying, I don't want to be with him. The next, hearing God, that little voice in me saying, stay, stay. Like, and so this is what God was doing inside of me. And then, with him, it was the shame, right? The shame of, I should just go. It's never going to get better. So he had those voices that he had to deal with.
Yeah, and that was going on for a while. I mean, even at the instance when she said, instantly when she said grace, I was already hearing thoughts like, you're not going to change. You're going to do this again. You're the way out. Once this is done. I mean, just all this condemnation.
For you.
Yeah, inside of the mind, because when somebody offers out forgiveness and grace, you still have to receive it on the other end as well. And there's a process even in that. And so it was difficult for me. I mean, there's a lot of pride in me as well at the time. And it was hard for me to just see that I was worth anything to the relationship other than hurting it, bringing the pain, the deception and on all of that. And so that carried on as she's needing the help to choose forgiveness and keep forgiving. I'm on the other end, man, am I even worth forgiveness? Am I worth this grace? Because I'm feeling like it's probably better off that I'm out of here, than out of this relationship, especially when we're having these heated moments that we're going on and on for a while now. And we didn't really have clear direction and tools. Like, how do we build off of this and not continue to try to build something and then it just get destroyed over a bad argument that lingered for a week or a couple of days, and then we're trying to make it back again. So it was up and down for a while.
Tony Lymari, great part one of your story. We're going to dive into part two, which is where the growth, the hope, and the inspiration for our listeners takes place, right? So thank you guys for that part one.
We're very glad you joined us for today's podcast. For more resources on marriage and healthy relationships, please visit our website at cmr.biola.edu. We'll see you next time on The Art of Relationships.